Alright, welcome to the next video, and as promised we will go through the example of how ROMI plays a part in the market. So let's take a look. So here an example, a company is considering whether to invest in customer acquisition initiative costing a $1 million. So you can see that this customer acquisition initiative, it's basically like an investment. Now, the first stage of initiative is to develop a technology to identify prospects as cost of $500K. The second stage is to implement a marketing campaign at cost of $500K. And it's projected that the gross margin to be coming from this initiative, it's 1.4 million. Now, as we probably heard of the ROMI's formula, so ROMI is equals to the gross margin minus the marketing investment, I'll just put MI, divided by MI. Now, the gross margin, it's 1.4, that's what we already know. Now, the marketing investment in here is not 500K because the fact that there are two stages in here, so we have to combine those two. So your marketing investment, it's going to be 500K from the first stage plus 500K from the second stage. So it's 1 mil. So because of that, my ROMI is going to be 1.4 million minus 1 million divided by 1 million. And this is going to be about 40%. So that's my answer. Now, if the ROMI threshold or the hurdle rate, so ROMI threshold, or what we call the hurdle rate, is basically the aim that the company really want to accept. So say that if the company have a ROMI of 5% and their target is 25%, then obviously the project will not go through because the fact that their aim is 25%. So anything more than that, then they are likely to accept. But anything lower than that, then they thought that it's a waste of time, we shouldn't go through that. So because of that, in here, we have ROMI of 40%, which is technically higher than 25%. So should the investment be funded? Then obviously it is yes, right? Now the next question is going through sort of like a flip in here, whereby we want to know the gross margin from ROMI. Now in here, it's that we can just apply the formula. So this formula is actually not different at all. It's basically a transformation from the main formula that we have learned before. So because of that, this is the transform formula. So you don't really have to actually convert that. It's already been converted. The reason why we need to calculate gross margin is that sometimes we want to know what is the minimal gross margin that we can actually get, right? We have the target ROMI and we have a marketing investment. We want to know what are the target margin that we really want. So in here, for example, what is the gross margin needed to meet a 25% hurdle rate on a $60,000 budget? So if we worked out their gross margin, so it's going to be 60K times by 1 plus 0.25, right? 25%, and this is 75,000. So what is this showing here is that if the marketing investment can generate a gross margin of 75,000 or more, then then that campaign should be funded. Now the next one is that we'll have the same example as the first one, right? It's the same wording. Now suppose that the first stage was completely on budget. However, the new projection is estimated that the revised gross margin is only 800,000. Should they invest in the second stage or not? And does your answers change if expected cost is increased to 700,000? So basically working out the same thing as ROMI, right? Now, because of that, I really want to go through the what we call the incremental ROMI. Now, incremental ROMI is incremental ROMI or ROI, right? It's basically just the increment. So if you think about like a straight line like this, now let's say we are moving from this point to this point, we are actually calculating the incremental. So what's the change from here to here? That is what an incremental is all about. Why sometimes incremental is important? Well, incremental is important because sometimes the results are not really a straight line. It could be something like this, whereby if you change from here to here, it increased rapidly. But when you change from here to here, it's not as much. You can see that it's decreasing. But when you come from here to here, it's increasing to a large extent, right? So that's one of that. That's why it is important. And why is it suited to marketing? It's because marketing decisions are often scalable, so needs to be adjusted, or it requires flexibility. So let's take a look at here. Now, suppose the first stage was completed on budget, right? So now the fact that we already completed the first budget, so we can forego that one. However, the new projection estimate to revise a gross margin of only 800,000. So now the first one has been completed, all right? So, which is done. Now the second one has not been completed. So because of that, now if we want to actually proceed with the second stage, it is, we are looking at the 500,000 only, okay? So the fact that now it has been revised to 800,000. So my ROMI is equals to gross margin minus marketing investment divided by marketing investment. Now my gross margin, it is going to be 800,000. Because why? Because we have updated 1.4 to 800,000. So we're going to write that. So 800,000 minus my MI, which is marketing investment, is not 1 million anymore, but it's going to be 500,000. Why? Because we have completed the first stage already, right? So if you already completed the first stage, it's by default, it's like sunk costs, right? You did that already, so you shouldn't take into account the first one because it's already done, right? Regardless you want to proceed or not proceed, it's already done. So because of that, 800K minus the 500K, which is the initial cost of the second project, divided by 500K. And this will give you 60%, which is still higher than our hurdle rate of the 25%. So this is what we call this is actually what we call an incremental ROMI. Okay, I should just write that down. Incremental ROMI. So we're not focusing on the first till the last, but we are focusing from the second stage only. That's why it's called incremental ROMI. And does your answer expect to change if it is increased to 700,000? Let's see. So incremental ROMI is equals to 700K. So that's going to be 800K minus 700K divided by 700K. So that's going to be 15%. Now 15%, it's lower than our hurdle rate of 25%. So this is going to be not funded. this is going to be funded. Alright, so in the next video, we are going to go through the scalability. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video.